Clap with me, Kurt.
Now what?
Okay. Hi, Lighthouse Church. Welcome to the ShapeCast Q&A. I am Shayna, and we're hanging out with Pastor Brianne today. And I'm particularly pumped because this is one of my closest friends. So if we give each other snarky looks, or if she gives me some like eyebrow action, all is well. It's just the majority of our friendship. Yeah. We'll just have a conversation later. But yeah, so we are continuing to just spend time with staff members and people from our church that we can just ask questions just to kind of break up the monotony of time at home, maybe working from home, maybe schoolwork from home, just so you can put on pause.
Dealing with your children.
Oh, yeah. I don't have to worry about that yet. I've dealt with your children just a couple times.
Just a couple.
But they're fun when I get to take them away for a little bit. So this is just space for us to hear from Brianne. People have asked questions all over the board, which I always really love, but we'll kind of gear it down towards some ministry questions to end. So I'm going to ask you the more fun ones to start. Is that cool?
Sure.
You got to be excited.
I love questions.
Actually, you do.
I don't mind them.
You do, though. So Brianne is like, she hates surface level conversation. So like I remember,
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, what do you do today?
I'm fine.
She like will either go like hard questions, deep, like right away, or she's cool with just not talking at all. It's like those two extremes. So
Yep.
It'll be good. I'm asking the questions and you have to answer them whether you like them or
Can I ask you a question?
Sure. To
Not
start?
yet. No,
I was like,
not
oh,
yet.
no.
I'm just wondering how
Yes.
this works.
Yeah, feel free. This
Okay,
is
great.
Organic and fun.
So we can hear about your white van story. Why not?
Maybe.
It's a good question. We'll
That
save
is
that
a
for the
childhood
end.
story that can have many repercussions. Anyways, okay. So first question, I'm going to use tradition. When Jamie Treat sends in questions, I'm just going to ask her first. Again, Jamie Treat. Yeah. Dearly loved human around here. Used to be a fellow employee and an intern. She was an intern at like the hardest season of our church when we moved buildings. And she's
a grill master. She can clean a grill. She
master.
inspires me
And she hated cleaning the grill, but she did it
every
anyways.
week.
She's a servant heart. I love her. Okay, so Jamie Tree wants to know on the front end, how many pull-ups can you do? And I'm going to say unbroken. Unbroken pull-ups.
Strict, butterfly, kipping.
You have to explain all three of those options.
Okay. So strict, we're all familiar. Chin to the bar, arms straight, arms
We're
locked
all
out.
familiar.
Sure. I think last time we tested...
What's a butterfly?
Butterfly is a literal butterfly motion on a bar. Looks like butterfly in the pool. If you've ever done butterflies,
I just do the doggy paddle.
that thing. And then kipping is a motion that propels you up to the bar. So
Where did you learn all of those motions?
CrossFit.
What is CrossFit?
What is CrossFit? CrossFit is I was going to say the way, the truth, and the life, but that would be very heretical. So it's not. It's not. No. CrossFit is high intensity workouts done in a communal setting. So you usually work out with the same people every day. I tell people all the time that CrossFit's better community than most churches I've ever been a part of. So they'll call you if you're not there. They push you to do things you never want to do. They believe in you in ways that you never thought you could be believed in. Anyway, so I've been a part of the same CrossFit gym now for almost a year and a half, I think. Just been an amazing time, incredible community, incredible coaching. But when I first got there, I could probably do 5 strict pull-ups maybe.
Okay. Are those the most difficult?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So just full body weight, full lockout. Couldn't butterfly. I could barely butterfly and I could kip a little bit, maybe 15 kipping pull-ups at the most. And kipping is much easier. Butterfly is the easiest. Now, I think last time we tested, I was at 23 strict. And then like,
I
don't know how many
2.
unbroken, but I can go for a while on butterfly and kipping. So
If you guys have not seen people do butterfly pull-ups, it's like a very unique motion to watch people. I get nervous almost every time I see somebody do it. But so my husband, Ethan, he goes to their CrossFit gym, and that CrossFit gym is awesome because they let me hang out every once in a while, even though I am not.
how many pull-ups can you do?
Oh, like probably 2. The last time I did pull-ups, I had a supporting band, like where you could like pull up,
There's no shame in that.
or jumping pull-ups.
There's no shame in that.
But Ethan, like when I watch him do pull-ups or you do pull-ups and you guys do butterflies, it's like I get so nervous because it looks like their chin is about
Hit
to
the
like
bar.
knock
So
the bar.
Shane and I went to Portland about a year ago, and I got my nose pierced.
Okay,
And-
wait.
Okay.
So one of my favorite words to describe Brianne is that she gets in these moments of just angstiness, like where she's like, I just want to do something rebellious or like just angsty in general.
When I was 18, I pierced my eyebrow. I want a tattoo.
So now at 30, she
Yes.
was like, let's pierce our nose.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, I also didn't want to cry, but I shed one single tear when I got my
Yeah, I
nose
was
pierced.
pretty
Anyway,
impressed.
so I just got my nose pierced in like February, and we did a CrossFit competition in, I think it was May. It might have been April.
Okay.
So my nose still really hurt. And in this competition with friends I barely knew at the time, the very first workout had pull-ups in it. And I was the only one that could butterfly. So I go up to the bar, I go to do my first butterfly, and I smacked my nose so hard on that bar. I thought I broke my nose, and I thought I'd pierced my nose
Like other
piercing
side.
through the other side of my nose.
Which would take so much
Oh
pressure.
my gosh. I was literally coming back. We had to do lunges walking back, and I have a lunge thing, and I'm just like crying. And people are like, what's wrong? I was like, I think I broke my nose. I didn't break my nose. I was just being dramatic.
That's hilarious. I didn't know that. Okay, so conclusion to that is you can do
Probably 23, 24,
ton of
25.
pull-ups.
I don't know.
I remember there was a season when Ethan and I like were consistently going rock climbing, and which is super fun, great workout, great date night, all those things. And one day you and Josh, I think, came with us, or we had some friends come join us, and I was like feeling pretty like good about it because I had been rock climbing, and Brianne hasn't been rock climbing. Like she can kill
So
it at CrossFit.
competitive is the right word.
So I was like, I want to show her what I can do. But she gets up and literally, I just remember she was doing these really hard routes and you weren't using your legs like at all. You were just like purely relying on the strength of your arms. And I was like,
So, okay, everyone thinks that's a good thing, but it's not.
but it was impressive nonetheless.
It's not.
Why?
When I was 17, I had a guy look at me. We were hiking Half Dome. I had a guy look at me and he goes, "You have huge shoulders." And this is way before
17?
working out, right? And so I've always had huge shoulders. It makes my body look massively disproportionate.
No, it doesn't.
And I don't use my legs, which you should. Your legs are the strongest muscle in your body, and I only use my arms.
I can't use my arms. So
Most girls can't.
give and take. I was just very impressed by your arm strength.
It was
so
fun.
don't mess with Brianne because she can throw a mean punch too.
Jamie Treat can also squat more than I can. She can't do
I
more
believe
pull-ups,
that.
but she can
She's
squat
strong.
so much.
She's
Yeah.
strong. Jay Street, we're
One
gonna ask
day.
you that.
One day.
We're gonna have to get you on ShapeCast one of these days. Okay.
I'd also like to point out that I finished almost my whole cup of coffee, and Shayna hasn't had one drink yet.
Slow sipper. I like to enjoy it.
A slow sipper. Where'd you find that sticker on that cup? I don't think it was there to start with.
Tell people.
Oh.
Guys. Okay, so I want it to be cool. These mugs.
Oh, you can't see it. Hold on. There we
It
go.
says "Join the Family," which is a class that B teaches here at the church for people who are just kind of what
you
is
also
Join the
should
Family?
probably explain why everyone calls me that.
B
Yeah.
because it's the first letter.
Never mind. Never mind. So she calls her husband E.
Yeah.
And they call me B. It's very confusing.
But also
walk into
very
a room and have
simple. We're
no
living in
idea who
simple
you're
times.
talking to.
Living
Anyway.
in simple times. So,
So,
yes, I will
yes,
call her B.
join the family.
Join the Family is a class that she teaches for people who are just kind of checking out Lighthouse. And she does an awesome thing where whoever goes to that class gets a free mug with coffee beans in it. And it says "Join the Family," which we actually genuinely believe being a part of Lighthouse is
absolutely.
joining the family. So I don't hate it. I don't hate the mug. But I was like, I don't want it to both say "Join the Family" because that doesn't really make sense with ShapeCast. So instead, I found our Lighthouse stickers that are given to new guests out in the lobby. And so my mug technically is a "Join the Family" mug, but I just put a Lighthouse sticker on the front. And the first ShapeCast we sent out, good friends AJ and Israel, who moved to California, he messaged me like a screenshot from the ShapeCast, and he was like, "I want that mug right now."
Little did he know they don't exist.
I was like, "It's really janky.
It's a
Sorry."
Band-Aid. Welcome to Lighthouse.
But
put a sticker on it.
Maybe if there's a loud enough cry for Lighthouse Church mugs.
I'd be down.
I'd be
Also, this
so
mug
down.
is very backwards, so it's
know.
for left-handed humans.
Well, that was another reason why I had to flip it.
No
'Cause
idea
otherwise
why
it
that
would have
happened.
just been a
Yeah.
plain black.
Need the right-handed.
Yeah,
Anyway, enough about
Regardless.
mugs. What you guys talk about today? Mugs.
we both like rely on caffeine. So mugs are a part of most of our conversations anyways. It's not an odd thing.
I got Shayna a unicorn mug.
Oh yeah.
You should have to bring that on.
It's pretty
next time.
dramatic.
Yeah, you should bring your drama.
So I hate pink. I hate pink. If you love pink, I love you. But I've just never been that kind of a girl. I wear black a lot.
I love pink.
No, you don't. You do?
No, I don't.
Oh, I was like, what? I hate pink. But anyway, so Brianne got me this really goofy, like it's mainly a white mug, but there's a unicorn on it, like coming out of the mug.
It's
and
probably
pink.
really hard to drink out of.
Yeah, and but it's funny. Yeah. Ethan actually mainly uses that.
Good.
He really harnesses his inner drama queen. Anyways, okay. Speaking of Ethan, he's my husband, and so now we're going to talk about your husband. So
Okay.
Josh cooks a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're like the queen of working out. You really love that. Josh like really owns one of his hobbies is cooking. And so one of our
So are
friends...
you saying he's the housewife?
Yeah, exactly. You
Okay.
get it. You get
All
it.
right.
Yeah. One of our friends sent in a question specifically about Josh's cooking and wanting to hear from your perspective. So this is from Paul Songer.
Okay.
Paul. He says, what's the worst food that Josh has ever made you?
This is, in all honesty, I'm very honest about his flaws and my flaws and whatever. I literally don't think he's ever made a bad meal.
Come on.
No, maybe a little bit too much salt one time.
On
like,
what? Do you remember?
No.
That's okay.
I can tell you the worst meal I've made.
I'm intrigued by that.
Because the list goes real long. So we had been married like 3 months, maybe not even that long. And we were this teeny tiny apartment. It didn't even have a real kitchen. It had like the kitchenette thing where it was just like.
This is before I met you.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were living in Aurora and like we didn't have a dishwasher. It was just like our cutting board was like this big because that was our whole counter, you know? So I decided I'd be the good housewife and make dinner. And for some reason I'd bought fish at the store. It was probably on sale.
Options.
It was probably on sale. I have no idea why. Bought fish. And all I remember is I thought I could make like this like fish soup.
Oh.
So I remember doing like the garlic onion thing because actually this is a trick for those of you getting married. I had a mentor.
You giving cooking tips right now?
I had a mentor tell me if you want to act like a housewife, put onions and garlic in a pan with some oil and start browning them, and it'll make you smell like you're cooking anything, even though you're only cooking onions and garlic.
That's true.
So I started onions and garlic and then just added stuff to it.
Including fish.
Including fish. And the other thing you need to know about me is I don't follow recipes.
Or
Follow
like
directions, temperature. I substitute. So like if it calls for flour, I might use cornstarch. I don't know. No, it's not usually that dramatic. But so I make this fish soup and I like set the table and there was like a candle in the middle. And I remember sitting down and Josh, we had not been married long enough for him to criticize me at this point yet. So Josh sits down and starts eating it. And it's at one point I started eating and I looked at him and I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever had. And he's like, oh, good. I'm so glad you said that. So we threw it away and I'm pretty sure we had Wendy's or McDonald's.
No.
So, but quite honestly, I mean, I'm super lucky. I get like 5-star meals 3 times a week. So if not more. So,
but so you and I are kind of similar on the cooking field. I really don't care much about cooking, but I don't have a picky husband. Ethan's like, whatever. I burn literally everything because I think it tastes better. And I blame my mom for that now. I realize that was her cooking flaw that has now influenced my
you
taste
think
buds.
it tastes better when it's burnt?
I do. Burnt pancakes?
toast?
Oh my gosh.
Ugh.
Yeah.
No.
It
Burnt
adds an
bacon.
extra level. Yes.
No, absolutely not.
Yes.
No.
Burnt popcorn. Way better.
No.
Absolutely.
No, I want it like barely cooked.
If you guys can't tell, we're polar opposites in most things, but we both are not the best cooks.
Right.
And that's good.
Yeah.
So that's
Fine with
funny.
that.
Fish soup. I'll never ask for that to be recreated. I love that. Okay. Now I want to get a little bit more into the nitty gritty of ministry because you and Josh haven't always done ministry. You've done ministry when you were like in college and all those things. And so there's kind of this, I guess maybe frustration when you get into vocational ministry that a lot of people don't actually understand what that means. Like we've come up against people being like, well, what do you do all day? Right. You know, those kind of like, what actually is ministry? Because we're all called to ministry wherever we're at. But when you're actually in vocational ministry, it's different. And there are a lot of just notions that people have about it that are not necessarily true. So I wanted to ask you, as somebody who I think speaks on this pretty well, what are like main myths about vocational ministry that you would like to like debunk? Does that make sense?
Like that people believe about
Yeah.
what we do. Yeah.
Or even specifically about what you do in your particular job right now.
Yeah.
And be gentle.
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think the number one thing is that we are super spiritual all the time. Like that our job is just sit around and read our Bible and pray. And, you know, I feel like my job, I've worked in sales, I've worked in business, I've done a lot of things. And I feel like my job is just as much relational as it is in any other entity I'm working in. I work in a lot of systems and like flow and how do things work through a process. And that's just a very business world thing. So I think the first thing is that our jobs are very normal. Like the church is a business, even though that's not its primary function, the church still is a business. And so it has to run like a business. It needs to function like a business. In some ways it needs to be run like a good business, a much better business. So that's like the number one thing, especially we've got some family and friends that don't know Jesus. And like, literally, I think for the first 2 years, they thought Josh never went to work.
Yeah.
And it was like, wait, he has an office? Wait, he goes to work? And it's
He has
like,
an email, a professional email? What?
yeah, his email is, no, I won't give you his email. He's gonna have 900 emails tomorrow. No, I mean, it's a job. Like, and when people walk into vocational ministry saying they're called or, you know, this language, it's like, well, somehow you believe the lie that it's going to be better than every other job you've had. And calling doesn't mean something is better. Right. Calling just means it's a part of what God is moving you
there's a deeper
towards.
motivation in it.
So you're not going to love every element of your job. You're not going to, you know, there's going to be things that frustrate you. And so I think that's the first one. The second one is that we just get to have fun. We get we get paid to like go to coffee and have dinner and have fun. And like those are, I would say we get to do some of those things, but like the cost is a lot higher.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
You never punch out. So, I mean, in every other world, right? You go in at 8, you leave at 5, you or whatever. And your job stays at your job. But when you work in ministry, your phone is always on, your email is always on, and you can create boundaries and systems of health, but there is no area of your life that is unaffected. Relationships are affected.
Right, they all kind of merge.
Your marriage is
blur.
affected. Your family is affected. And so the cost is high.
Yeah.
But totally worth it. And so, yeah. But I really, I mean, the older I get, I'm not that old. The older I get, at least I think I'm not that old.
You're not that old. You are a young, hip mom and friend and pastor.
I'm still older than almost everyone here. Let's be honest. No, the older I get, though, I think this idea of calling has really done a big disservice to us, and just
like how it's been perceived.
Yeah, we teach students specifically that if they don't live in their calling, then they're not going to fulfill this dream that God has given them. And it's like, your calling is to pursue Jesus, and then everything else is secondary to that. And even myself, I remember buying that lie as a student. Like, what is my calling? What is my, it's like, it's just like, I don't think there's a perfect man to marry or a perfect woman to marry. Like, marriage is hard. You got to get through it.
Yeah.
Like, it's good, but it's hard, you know? So.
Yeah. I love that. That's
what
good.
are some things you've learned? I mean, so Shayna's coming out of like secular ministry and now moved to vocational ministry. What are some things that you feel like either surprised you or?
Yeah, I think I came in with some of the notions that you talked about of like, okay, I will have time in my day where I do just sit down with Jesus, and like what a gift that will be. And I remember there was a season at my previous job where I was really experiencing a lot of anxiety and just like wanting to perform better and do better for my students. And I had to carve out, I was like, okay, me freaking out in my mind is not gonna help me do this job better or glorify God better. So I carved out every lunch. I went outside and I read my Bible, which was gutsy for me. Like, that felt pretty bold. I was working at a community college where like religion is kind of like off the table completely. But I was like, I need to sit with Jesus, and I had to force my way into that. And then I came into, and it was good. It was really good, actually. I had some really cool conversations. And then I came into ministry, and I was like, this will just be provided for me. But I found myself having to do the same thing. Like, when my anxiety peaks in this job, because I want to be perfect in this job too, because that's just a lean that I have as a human. I didn't have just an hour on my schedule to be praying and hanging out with Jesus, where like none of the rest of my tasks needed to get done, you know?
Right.
And I was like, no, I still have to actually claim that time. I like felt it was harder to draw the line between my personal devotion life and like what I would find is like if I spent time with Jesus on my own at work because I was just like overwhelmed, it would just turn really quickly into like praying for people rather than asking God just to work on my heart in order to love them better. It all got...
You went all Martha.
Oh, yeah, story of my life. Story of my life. So I had to learn that was very much, there are still all these same rhythms. And then we also learned pretty quickly because Ethan and I came in together that it is not a typical 40-hour week job. And people can tell you that, but until you're actually living in it and you feel the burden of loving people well and you feel... which are
you get
good
a phone
burdens.
call in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Shane and Ethan were a part of the first
Loss
at Lighthouse, and they got the phone call, and we all had to go. And those kinds of phone calls will change you.
Yeah. So it's been a joy. It's definitely been difficult to figure out those pieces because we grew up in a Christian culture, went to a Christian university, lived in all of that calling. Verbiage, and also our generation. That's just how my brain operates. I want to be in my passion. I want to be doing what I'm created for. That's just kind of how our generation is. So, so it's been a good learning curve for us, but I definitely like realized how I bought some of those myths for a long while. What would you say has like most surprised you about working in ministry, and maybe even as a woman, like, cause that's something that's, not as common as it should be.
Yeah, so I think the most surprising thing is that I fight myself more than anyone else. And so because of the culture I grew up in and the narratives I believed previous to this job, I fight lies about what other people believe way beyond what people actually are saying and actually believe.
Kind of presume those assumptions.
Yeah, so that's been really surprising because I'm a pretty like get it done personality. And so the fact that I would like stay back for any reason has kind of surprised myself. I think the other surprising piece really is just how it isn't the end all be all. So, for me, there was a day God called me to ministry. Like I knew this was what I was going to do with my life. And even with that moment to look back to, there are days where it's like, I'm not sure this is what I want to keep going in. And I'm not sure that this is exactly where God has me.
Yeah, there's still that typical questioning and like human nature and all those things. Well, and you and Josh in particular, you're not just working in vocational ministry, but you guys have started a church. Actually, I remember when I think I was in college, I was working part-time as the children's ministry director, and we went to a conference. It's a church planting conference. And we were on, I think it was something like that. Probably Florida.
Okay.
But it was a while ago.
Okay.
And I remember I was like separated from the rest of the staff that was going in, and I was sitting next to this guy, and this poor guy felt so bad. I had just grown used to your language of church planting. Like everybody was just talking about church
I remember
planting.
this. I remember this.
And I sit next to this guy, and I'm like, oh, he was one of the talkative types. And so normally I'm an introvert, so I try to be pretty stoic so that people don't talk to me in the airport. But
does that mean you don't like people?
I love people most of the time. But anyway, this guy started talking to me, and he was like, what's bringing you to, Florida, whatever. And I was like, oh, we're here for a church plant conference. And he was like engaging in this conversation, like at least 15 minutes of conversation talking about it. And at the end, he goes, wow, that is really cool. I never realized how much churches really need to have like greenery. They need to have plants. Like, thank you for
planting. Thank you for taking that flower.
And I was like, is it more rude for me to tell him that that's not what I've been talking about? Or do I just let it go or whatever? I was like, I'm so sorry, sir. By church planting, I mean starting a whole church. And I'm here with the group that does that. It was really funny. But church planting in and of itself is like a whole nother ballgame of ministry. Yeah. What's been the sweetest part of church planting for you? And we'll kind of wrap up with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I could never do a traditional pastoral role. I won't say never.
Yeah,
God has a way of like changing things. But I love starting something from scratch. I love seeing what could be and running with that. And in the church planting world, there's no sacred cows. There's no like, we've done it this way for 45 years. It's like anything is fair game. You can change anything at any point in time.
Which we do
on a weekly basis. There's some drawbacks that, we can talk about. But like, yeah, and the excitement of what could be and what should be, and there's nothing like it. Even I've started my own business. I've worked for people who run businesses, and that there's no comparison, because all you're doing in that world is not minimizing it. All you're doing is basically looking at a profit and going, how do we get here?
Yeah.
Whereas with church planting, it's like, how do we get to spiritual health with people who don't know Jesus? And it was actually cool. On Sunday, I went over to our friend Megan's house for church, and there was a small group under 9.
We're still being healthy. That's in our apartment complex.
There was a small group of us that watched the service together, and it's the first time since COVID that I've been with people to do church. And it struck me like halfway through that I was like, this is how this started.
Yeah.
That like these 9 people weren't there at day 1. Some of them were, but weren't there at day 1. And now this is a new set of 9 people that are doing things. And I thought about the stories of each person in that room, and like people who, I mean, one girl shared a long time ago that, you know, she didn't believe the Holy Spirit was for her. And we're sitting in this room singing songs about the power of gospel for her. And it's like, that's church planting.
Yeah.
Going and reaching the least of these and saying you're worth it and the gospel is worth it. And so there's just nothing like it.
That's awesome.
So,
I love it. It's been fun for me to kind of learn alongside you guys, because I grew up in a mega church, and so never really had the concept of how small local churches actually start. Yeah, and it's even watching from the outside for a long while and just kind of being like a fly on the wall and support system, it's been really cool to see how God has used the many trials and successes of church planting to just grow a group of people. Like the fact that Lighthouse, like we started, me and Megan Budd and my husband and a few other college students like started in your small apartment when we were in college before Lighthouse was really conceptualized, and we were meeting as this home group for another church, which was really awesome. And I just remember one of those group meetings, you guys were like, so we're thinking about starting a church. Like, do you guys want to do that with us? And we were like, sure. That sounds fun. And we had no idea what that meant.
No idea.
Had no clue. Yeah. But it's been really, really sweet just to see, I think the heartbeat of what Jesus really fought for, which was people gathering together, worshiping his name, diving deeper, and then seeing that just spread. You know, like that's how churches started in the Bible, was a small group of people in houses. And that's how Lighthouse started, and now we're where we're at, which is by the hand of God.
And now we're back in houses.
Which, you know what? If that's how God is simplifying his church, whatever, we'll deal with it. We'll deal with it. Okay, so because you brought up one of my childhood memories.
Yeah.
We both have awful memories. Right? Don't look at me like that's not true. We both have awful memories. So I will share.
Not that the memories themselves are bad, which is true.
Sorry.
We can't remember things.
Yeah,
we have the memories of a goldfish.
Yeah. Like pretty significantly, which is sad. And we'll figure out what happens when we're both like in our 60s and 70s.
We'll just reintroduce ourselves 700 times.
Yeah, which is fine, you know. So I will share my goofy, embarrassing childhood story.
Great.
If you share one of yours.
Okay. I'm going to have to think about one.
Okay. You want me to go first? Are you committing to sharing?
I'll commit.
Okay. Okay. So this is, I'm so sorry, mom and dad, and any children that are listening, because it's not wise. And I have replayed this so many times, and I'm going to give you guys the brief story. I'm so sorry. I did tell my parents about this when I was an adult, and it did not go the way that I thought it would go, but that's okay. So I was in middle school with some of my hood rat friends. And
what was your nickname in middle school?
Gangster Shayna.
Oh yeah, of course.
And some other mean ones, but that's okay. But we were with a friend at a doctor's appointment, and we were in middle school. Our friend in the doctor's appointment was like hanging at the doctor's, and me and my other middle school friend were like, let's go fill up her truck with gas, because that would be kind. We know how to semi-drive, whatever. At all. I didn't know how to drive. I was just kind of going along for the ride. And this is in Las Vegas, Nevada, heat of the summer. And our car, apparently her odometer, gas tank gauge, not odometer, didn't work. And so it just always laid on empty. So we weren't actually sure how much gas was left in it. Apparently none. So we get out of the parking lot on this main street, and it just like like just stops. And so I was like, you know what? Okay, like let's strategize. My friend stayed with the car because she was a little bit more comfortable.
Were you driving?
No, it was my friend, and I will not out her.
Okay. I'm just
I was not driving.
Okay.
So I was like, I'll go get gas. There was a little gas, like red gas tank or whatever.
How old are you?
This is like 7th grade, I think.
13, 14?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So I start walking down midday, sunny day. I start walking down the street to go get gas station because my friend was like, I swear there's a gas station right around the corner. Like it's really, really close. You'll be fine.
This was pre-GPS.
Pre-GPS.
Pre-Google phone.
Pre-intellect, apparently, because what happened, I'm stopped at this curb. I keep on walking. There's like no gas station in sight, but I'm like, whatever, I'm going. So I keep on walking, and this large white van with no windows pulls up to the curb where I'm at, which on all accounts I should have screamed and ran or ignored. But the man rolled down his window and was like, I see that you want to go get gas. I know where the gas station is. Would you like me to take you?
White van rolls up, no windows.
But there were so many people around. And I tell people now, I probably didn't actually, but I tell people now I prayed about it. But for some reason, I got in the van, friends. I got in the van.
Every parent is freaking out right now, by the way.
Like, held the handle. I like remember being super far over, and I like held the handle with both hands, like ready to run if I needed to, as if I had any control over that. The man was fine. He was kind. He dropped me off at the gas station. And I was like, praise God. Why did I do that? And I get up to the gas pump. And here I am 13. I'm like, I've never pumped gas in my life. I've never paid attention to my parents pumping gas. So I'm standing at this gas pump looking at it, being super confused. And this man from the creepy van parked and came up and was like, do you want me to help you get gas? And I said, yes. So he helps me get gas. And then
he's like, how old are you?
Thank you so much. Like, you've been really, really helpful. And this is at least like over a mile from where I originally was. And so I start walking back in the heat of Vegas summer. And he was like, he pulled up again with his van and was like, do you want me to take you back?
This is take 3.
So I got back in the van. And I am here to tell the tale. And I would never encourage anybody to ever do that. But for some reason, it has been a funny conversation that my friends will bring up at random
every time
times.
we see a white van, we ask Shayna if she wants to get in it.
And I say no, because that was my only
white van experience.
I never want another one. Okay.
So my goldfish memory is kicking in. Okay. And I've literally been sitting here thinking, and I don't have a story.
You've never done anything stupid.
I've done a lot of
funny,
stupid things, whether or not I can remember them.
Man, we had a deal, B.
Oh, okay. I got one. I don't think you were there for this. Maybe you were.
Is this not a childhood memory?
No. Oh, this is adult recent. I'm going to like...
Wait. When you ran into that?
Yeah. Okay. So we were going... It was like a Friday night. We have a date night every Friday night.
Had
before COVID. We will have after COVID. And we were going to the Mongolian place.
Yeah.
Down on Broadway and
something.
Whatever. I don't even know the name of it.
Me either.
Whatever.
I
don't know. We were going to eat. One place that Josh likes to eat. Yeah. So we're going to eat. We're all just talking and walking. There's like maybe 5 of us, maybe 6 of us, like having fun, hanging out. I don't know what happened, but I just walked straight.
So I think you were walking backwards for a second, and then you turned around really quickly. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't even know why I was walking backwards. I walked straight into a parking meter and hit like right on my sternum to the point where the whole meter shook and you could hear the coins. I thought I broke my sternum and a couple ribs. And I look over and all I see is Josh on the ground laughing.
Louder than I've ever heard him laugh.
Gosh. And then he's just like, I can't believe you just walked into that. And I'm literally, I can't breathe. It hurts so bad. So now it's the running joke. Don't walk into the parking meter.
So they make fun of me for not getting into vans, and we make fun of her when she runs into things.
So I just avoid parking meters.
It was hilarious.
At all times.
I literally, Josh, it was a weird moment because right when you hit it, me and Ethan were like, oh my God. We realized what the jingling sound was and that it was against your whole body. And we started laughing, but Josh stopped, turned. It was a couple seconds, threw his hands on his legs and went, ah! like belted
so
out.
loud.
Like it was like a
Yeah.
moment of preparation for that kind of laugh.
Yeah, he'd been waiting for that
It was
one. Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. So needless to say, we're a lot of fun to hang out with.
I guess. If you have a white
make you
man, bring it
laugh.
on over.
Okay, well, all those things included. I think you're awesome. Thanks for hanging
Think
out
you're
with us.
awesome.
I hope you learned
Thanks.
a little bit about Brianne Shaw. Oh, we also have the same middle name.
Except mine's spelled better.
Wrong. Yours is spelled wrong.
Mine is spelled wrong. My dad spelled it wrong in the hospital.
It's Nick Hole.
Nicole. Nicole.
Mine is just a simple Nicole.
Yeah.
Nice and classic.
Yeah, it just had to be special,
For little
you know?
tidbits about us, but thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah.
We will see you guys around for more ShapeCast. We hope you are having fun, taking some time to just breathe and enjoy people, call people, whatever it might be in this season to continue community and continue laughing about funny stories.
Tell us
With your
your
friends.
embarrassing stories.
Ooh.
That'd be good.
Ooh. Yeah. Send
Submit
us some
them.
comments or whatever. I don't know how to do technology.
Tweet about it.
Tweet.
I don't even think we know how to use that.
We don't have one. Don't do that. Send us anything via email. I know how to use that. Instagram, Facebook, and the YouTube.
The YouTube.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.